She thought she was finally safe, in a quiet home on Staten Island. But that night, someone entered, not to steal, but to search. By morning, her house was completely torn apart, and she was gone. No signs. No answers. Just one terrifying question. What was the killer really looking for? Staten Island was the kind of place where evenings settled quietly, where the soft glow of porch lights and distant sounds of passing cars created a sense of calm that rarely felt disturbed. On a quiet residential street lined with modest homes and trimmed lawns, one house stood no different than the others, at least, not at first glance. It belonged to a young woman named Elena Carter, known among neighbors as polite, reserved, and someone who kept mostly to herself. She had moved there less than a year ago, drawn by the peaceful surroundings and the promise of a fresh start. Nothing about her routine ever seemed unusual. She worked during the day, returned home before sunset, and rarely had visitors. To anyone watching from afar, her life seemed steady and uneventful. But on one particular evening, something felt different, though no one could quite explain why. The street was quieter than usual, almost unnaturally so, as if the air itself had grown heavy. Elena had returned home earlier than normal, her movements slightly hurried, though there was no one around to notice. Inside the house, the lights flickered on one by one, casting long shadows across the walls. Hours passed, and the outside world carried on as usual, unaware that behind those closed doors, a sense of unease had begun to take hold. Sometime late into the night, a neighbor passing by thought they heard a faint noise coming from Elena's house, something out of place, like furniture shifting, or a sudden thud. But in a neighborhood where sounds often blurred together, it was easy to dismiss. No alarms were raised, no calls were made. The house returned to stillness, its windows dark and silent once more. The next morning, the calm shattered in a way no one could have expected. What was discovered inside that home left an impression that would linger over the entire street for weeks to come. Objects were scattered, rooms disrupted, and signs of a struggle were evident, but there was no immediate explanation, no clear reason why such chaos had unfolded in a place once defined by quiet routine. Elena herself was nowhere to be found, and that absence spoke louder than anything else. Authorities were called, and soon the once peaceful street filled with activity. Questions began to circulate among neighbors, questions about who Elena really was, whether she had enemies, or if something from her past had followed her into this new life. Yet no one had answers. The house, now at the center of attention, held its secrets tightly, revealing only fragments of a story that felt far more complex than it appeared on the surface. As the investigation began, one thing became clear: this was no random incident. There were signs that whoever had entered that home had been searching for something, or someone, with unsettling determination. And as the days unfolded, the mystery only deepened, pulling everyone connected to that quiet Staten Island street into a story they never imagined becoming part of.